much has changed as far as the issue of the government disposition to our welfare is concerned.
He is called smart, but the challenges faced by the Nigerian teacher consistently threatened his smartness. Wait to hear more from Smart Olugbekon in our Let's Talk segment. Welcome to your #1 labor program in Africa. I am Abulu Osemahu. Now, due to popular demand, we will play back Sophie's interview. She was abused as a domestic worker abroad before returning to begin to champion the cause of migrant workers returning in Nairobi, Kenya. Now, we appreciate your messages of encouragement and support. Keep them coming. Reach us using our contact as displayed. For those who sent in protests like waste workers in Plateau and Kogi State, North Central Nigeria, your government have refused to react to your protests. However, we will bring you up to speed as soon as they react. Now let's welcome Francis Okoliko for global updates on labor stories from Africa to the rest of the world.
My name is Mohammed Megardi Gadi, the Minister of Labor and Employment. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Thank you, Abulu, and welcome to Global Update on Labor Stories Shaping the World of Work. Let's begin with worrisome stories from Nigeria, as medical doctors under the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, have issued a 21-day strike notice to the federal government to implement agreements reached with it. NMA President Professor Bala Audu, who issued the warning, stated that the association was fully prepared to take decisive action if necessary. The group expressed disappointment and condemned the circular on the consequential adjustment of allowances under the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure for Medical and Dental Practitioners Council of Nigeria. Still in Nigeria, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has expressed frustration over the prolonged stalemate in its renegotiation with the federal government on key issues affecting university lecturers and the education sector. ASU President Professor Chris Piuna said the union had run out of patience with the government's failure to take concrete action despite years of promises and discussions. African workers are terrified. They are calling for urgent preventive diplomacy and constructive dialogue to quell the tightened tensions between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The call is coming from the African Regional Organization of the International Trade Union Confederation, which expresses grave concern over the escalating tensions between the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the state of Eritrea. A statement signed by its General Secretary, Ahato Joel, said these rising hostilities carry the ominous risk of a return to full-scale military confrontation that could devastate millions of lives and livelihoods across the Horn of Africa and beyond. The ituc-Africa said, as a Pan-Africa trade union movement committed to protecting and defending human and trade unions' rights and contributing to peace, security, and democratic resilience, it issues the statement as both a warning and a call to action. ituc-Africa says it sees the early warning signs and has refused to be silent. Reports from multiple credible sources, including the New York Times, Al Jazeera, Chatham House, Reuters, and African arguments continue to highlight a dangerous buildup of military rhetoric and maneuvers between the two nations. According to the Pan-African Trade Union, these developments threaten to unravel the fragile gains made under the Pretoria Agreement and risk plunging the region into a complex, multi-layered conflict reminiscent of the crisis in Yemen, this time on the African side of the Red Sea. The ituc-Africa cautioned that the Horn of Africa is already overwhelmed by active wars in Somalia, Sudan, Oromia, and the Amhara regions of Ethiopia, with the economic, human, and political cost staggering, leaving civilians, particularly women, children, youth, and workers displaced. It says communities continue to bear the brunt of these wars, facing famine, forced migration, and systematic rights violations. The Tripartite joins ituc-Africa in calling for peace in the Horn of Africa. Still in Africa, this time a rather cheering news from Senegal. Now, after 3 years of strikes, demonstrations and relentless organizing, the National Union of Local Authority Workers of Senegal has secured a landmark victory. The Tripartite gathers that by this victory, over 7,600 workers will now see their salaries aligned with national public service scales, receive transitional allowances, and benefit from a 1.5 billion CFA, which is 2.29 million euros of Solidarity Fund. We will remain in Africa. Now, just 2 days before the National Federation of Electricity and Gas Workers planned the July 17 strike, the Tunisian government has reached an agreement with them to hold privatization in the electricity and gas sectors. The Tripartite gathers that in this agreement, workers will also receive the long overdue 2020 grant and enjoy full social benefits. Let's bring you updates from Asia. Now, Malaysia nurses scored a major victory by forcing the government to abandon plans to increase their working hours from 42 to 45 hours weekly. The proposed extension was strongly opposed by nurses who had already been working beyond the International Labour Organization and global best practice standards. The Tripartite gathers that the Malaysian Nurses Union and the Shaba Medical Services Union (SMSU) were at the forefront of this campaign. Saida Athman, MNU president, said, "We have been campaigning and in talks with the government since last November. This marks a major victory for us." Let's get a story from the US. Credited to the employer's report, which says US immigration enforcement, both at the border and in communities across the country, has created widespread anxiety for employers and foreign national employees due to the rapid changes in policies and their enforcement by US immigration authorities. According to the employer's report, the recently passed One Big Beautiful Bill Act significantly increases DHS's budget for key immigration enforcement priorities such as border security. And that's all we have in this segment. Enjoy the rest of the program.
I am Comrade Peter Esele. You are watching the Tripartite, the government, workers, and employers roundtable.
I am Comrade Ayuba Waba, the 6th President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and also former President of the International Trade Union Confederation globally. You are watching the Tripartite on AIT.
I am Hassan Simon, Nigeria President Nigerian Labour Congress, and former Secretary General Organization of African Trade Unions. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Welcome back, and thank you, Francis. Now, sub-Saharan Africa needs 15 million teachers by 2030. That is according to UNESCO. But the challenges of the Nigerian teacher seems not to be disappearing. Smart Olugbeko brings us up to speed. Can you tell us how academic workers in the college education has fared in the last few years that you are president of course?
Nothing much has changed as far as the issue of the government disposition to our welfare is concerned, and we have not had anything so different from what we used to have. And you recollect that the struggle, for better pay, has not actually yielded the desired result. The last time we had a major increase in our salary was 2010. That's about 15 years ago. And since then, the academic staff, even workers generally in the tertiary institutions of sector, they have not received any significant increase in their pay. So when it comes to the issue of salary, emolument, allowances, nothing much has been achieved because we have been dealing with a very difficult government, and they have not been able to make any significant contribution. So, but when it in the areas of trying to make our members to be able to live up to the expectation in the area of service delivery, we want to say that our members, they have upped their games and they have been able, to come out better. And lecturers in college education are well positioned to be able to deliver, as regards the issue of the service that is expected of them in the area of research, in the area of teaching and the community service. This they have been able to do excellently well. And it is a manifestation that everybody can see in the area of career advancement of lecturers in college of education. Many of our colleagues have been able to become doctorate degree holders, and we have a lot of our colleges now passing accreditation, and it's a result of the quality of academic staff in those institutions. So we want to say in that area we have done very well.
Tell us about the IPPIS and the implementation so far in colleges.
Well, it's just like a kind of putting a kind of a new cloth, into the old thing. Because before we migrated to IPPIS, we were in GIFMix, which is the platform we're being used to pay. And after they migrated us, without our consent to IPPIS, the IPPIS problem escalated, and government also discovered that a lot of problems, happened, which IPPIS created. And it is not just that. IPPIS recorded monumental fraud, which the Office of Auditor General of the Federation in 2023, was able to come up with a report that actually indicted IPPIS. And by the time the present government, kudos to the president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who listened, when we presented facts that IPPIS is not actually doing any good to the system. He listened, and he was able to move tertiary institutions, from IPPIS. They move us to GIFMix. But the problem is that some of these problems still persisted, because the GIFMix we are operating now, it's not the same GIFMix the way we operated it, before we moved to IPPIS. There's still a lot of problems because the procedure, the institutions will have to pass through before they could, get the salary paid, has been, a very difficult one. That is why you discover that even recently, we wanted to go on strike because our salaries, were being delayed. And it has become a tradition since we started operating GIFMix, that they will not pay salary until after 10 days, after 11 days. At times you get to the middle of the other month. Then you continue to imagine what is happening. But it's still the kind of IPPIS trend that have been infused into gift mix, and it's making it difficult, for those payments to be made. When the gift mix was still at the level we operated before IPPIS, the institutions, they had actual control on how to make the payment through the gift mix platform. But now there are a lot of what they call check and balances that they have to pass through. So you discover most of the times they couldn't make payment because they have already put in some bottlenecks that make it to be seamless in operation. So to us, yes, it is a kind of a better option when it's compared to IPPIS, but it has not actually achieved the purpose that we actually want.
What is the take-home pay of a college of education lecturer?
Well, it depends, because when we say take-home pay, it is salaries, they are in steps, they are in
Okay, give us a range between what to what.
Well, it depends, and I can tell you that the highest paid lecturer in college education is called a chief lecturer. The highest rank is a chief lecturer, which you can say is equivalent to a professor in the university, and a chief lecturer also in polytechnic, a professor in the university, a principal lecturer in college education, an associate professor in the university or a reader, and senior lecturer in college education, senior lecturer in polytechnic.
A chief lecturer aims up to $1 million salary?
Not even a professor. So a chief lecturer earns after take home when the compulsory or statutory deductions are made, like taxes, NHIS, and housing, and some other, statutory deductions. We go home with about 550,000 naira monthly, which is just about $300 to $350.
And the lead lecturer goes up home with what?
That would be a graduate assistant, an assistant lecturer, which is about 120,000.
Wow.
So that is as bad as that.
So which means you sell handout to make it.
There is something like that.
You sell handout, you sell books, and you charge students some fees for tests.
That I think we have heard this several times, but it's a misconception. And you're a journalist, and I think when such general statements are made, it's the responsibility of journalists to go to institutions and find out. You discover that there is no federal institution, and I can say that, and I can be quoted, that sells handouts. It's not allowed. It has been outlawed even more than 15 years ago. So you don't go to any federal institution and see people sell handouts. So, and it is something that doesn't happen. And there are no payments that is required to be paid by students that will be paid to the lecturers. No, not of just payment.
Okay.
All payments are made directly to the TS. Even the college management, they do not have. The college management they don't have accounts in commercial banks. All accounts are in the central bank, the TSA.
So all of you engage in farming to support yourself?
Well, people engage in different things. As lecturers, you can be involved in consultancy. Some write textbooks. Some do other academic things that fetch money. But that is not a regular income. We are supposed to our income is supposed to take care of our needs, and every other thing should just be service to the community, of which supposed not to be commercial in nature, and that is not what's supposed to be. What's supposed to take care of our basic needs, our needs, supposed to be our salary, which is unfortunately is not.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As we promised you, here is Sophie, the migrant worker returnee, who is doing wonders in Nairobi, Kenya.
Domestic work is real work, and for sure domestic work is real work. Because if I wasn't a domestic worker, I don't think my daughter will now be done college.
Where's the daughter?
She's done college. My son is done high school. And the other one is still...
And they're all in Kenya?
They are all in Kenya.
So you will not advocate for them to go abroad?
I wouldn't much. I also want to...
But not to go as domestic workers?
They can go as domestic workers because it depends. If the government or the African, let me say African Union, because it is the one that is uniting the other countries. Then comes now the sub that we have now, the trade unions, and they are being supported to work on the better migration. I wouldn't tell anyone because in domestic work we have many fields. We have people that are drivers. We have healthcare assistants that they are working in homes. And these are people who have to go through training. These are people who can offer a lot, even not only in our homes. Even if this person is on the way and finds someone in need of a first aid or any other aid that is in that field, this is someone who is qualified. So I can't say that I will not tell my kids to work as domestic workers or any other future generation to come. We just want to know that domestic work is real work and is just work like any other. This is a
and they should be respected.
They should, in fact, imagine, imagine you leave me with all your assets.
Yes.
All your assets. You are trusting me with everything that
children,
you
the house,
imagine,
the kitchen,
everything, your money, the safe house, the safe.
But there are issues of sexual abuse.
Yes, and that is where now we are. Like, I will tell you the truth, and especially for us that have been in the Gulf, we've gone through a lot. There is so much of sexual abuse.
I am Comrade Festus Osifo, President Pengasan, President TUC. You are watching Tripartite on AIT.
The Tripartite. It's new, it's fresh, it's informative, it's educational, and it is authentic. The Tripartite holds onto the workers, the employers, the government, and the international development partners on a round table to critically dissect issues concerning employment, productivity, welfare, safety, and health. A people united can never be defeated. Join us on the Tripartite, the worker, employer, and government roundtable.
We promise to bring you more interesting stories like that of Sophie. Reach us for advert, sponsorship, partnership, and support. At the Tripartite, workers' lives matter, employers' business matter, government policies matter, pensioners' welfare matter. We care for child labor. You and you watching the program, you matter to us. I am Abulu Osemwahu. Let's do this again.